Hey guys, thanks everyone for coming back to my channel. You may be like, hey, Sherwin, what the hell are you doing? Why are you in a dark room that's filled with random shit behind you that we can't even tell what it is because it's so freaking dark? Well, that's because I drove all the way across Canada from Calgary to almost Ottawa, just outside of it, to where my parents live on a farm in a log cabin that they built with their own hands. So I am in the basement of that log cabin. And I got to tell you guys, something stinks in this country. Something stinks in Canada. It's not the fact that my dogs got sprayed by a skunk 2 days ago, because they do stink. But something stinks in Canada. Check this out.
Idiots on the progressive side, let's say, are too terrified of the woke mob to come out and actually have a conversation.
Well, this leads me very
absolutely comical.
Right. Well, that last sentence leads me very neatly to your bête noire, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the man who told us that the word mankind should be replaced by people kind.
That's going to change the future of mankind. So we'd like you to look
we like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind, because it's more inclusive.
The man who virtue signals for the world and yet was caught repeatedly having blacked his face. And the man who only a few days ago joined in an ovation in the Canadian Parliament for an actual Nazi.
We have here in the chamber today Ukrainian-Canadian war veteran from the Second World War who fought the Ukrainian independence against the Russians and continues to support the troops today, even at his age of 98.
Oh my God!
He's a Ukrainian hero, a Canadian hero, and we thank him for all his service.
Oh my God! Like, how dumb is my government? Oh my Lord.
This is a guy who, to me, embraces all that is bad about the woke virtue signaling world because he's riddled with hypocrisy. I mean, when you saw the Nazi thing last week, what was your reaction?
Living in Justin Trudeau's Canada, it's a never-ending hallucinogenic, surreal dream. Justin Trudeau's mode of governance is to top each scandal with a bigger scandal, and he's really good at that. So it's like literally for the last, virtually for the entire course of his governance, there's just been one scandal after another, and what happens is the newest one obliterates the previous ones in the imaginations of Canadians. And I mean, in the last 2 weeks alone, he managed to go to the G20, to alienate the Prime Minister of India, to start a trade war with India, to make the Indian government so irritated they decided not to give visas to Canadians anymore. And he did that to maintain his idiot coalition with the narcissist in Canada, Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the Socialists, who is just as bad as Trudeau and lacks his intelligence, which is a really pretty dismal insult, let me tell you. And then he called a whole sequence of protesters across Canada who are parents, led mostly by Muslims who are quite traditionalist. He called them misogynists and bigots, just like he did the trucker convoy. And then he invited, he set up the circumstance so that while Zelensky was there, there was a literal Nazi, SS Nazi yet, so like the best kind of Nazi, let's say, addressing the Canadian House of Parliament. And then when he apologized, because he eventually did, he really didn't take any responsibility, and he offered his own speaker as a sacrificial lamb. It's like, and that was just last week. And you might say, well, what's wrong with Canadians? And I can tell you what's wrong with Canadians is that Canadians have a very difficult choice to make. They can either wake up and realize that under the jurisdiction of this preposterous narcissist, we've compromised virtually every institution of integrity in Canada, which is a really bitter pill to swallow, or we can assume that everyone who's pointing that out is some sort of conspiracy theorist. And it's way easier for Canadians to swallow the latter story than to actually contend with the true ramifications of the former story. Now, unfortunately, the former story is true. So,
And I think that says it all. I think he's really summed it up nicely, Jordan Peterson, on this interview with Piers Morgan. Trudeau continuously does a scandal after scandal after scandal, and I feel like I'm living in a clown world. I feel like the clowns are just running the asylum here. It's just ridiculous, and all I can do is hearing these different things that he does. All I can do is laugh because it's so preposterous and ridiculous, and there's so many scandals. Like, I don't even know what to think about any of this. I'm just like, oh, well, of course, why not start a war with India, you know? Like, why not just piss them off? Like, why not increase tensions? Like, here is a clip of all the different scandals that, at least the big ones, that Trudeau has gone through. And those are just the big scandals that everybody seems to remember. I'm sure there's a bunch of small ones that we all forgot about. I don't even understand how he's still in office. It's like United States, you can impeach your president. We must have something in Canada to do that. There must be something. I don't get it. I feel like all I can do is just laugh because it's like the clowns running the asylum up in here. It's so ridiculous, so preposterous. You don't know what's going to happen next. And all I can do beyond laughing is just wait for the next election cycle, which will be basically 2 years from now. And on that note, have a happy Canadian Thanksgiving.